And like you're suffocating.
I had opportunity to visit Tai Lopez farm in northeastern region, and it was a very great experience for me. Tai Lopez is one of my mentors, and I've been following him since 2016. I didn't know about him until 2016, but when I found him and when I watched his TED Talk, I really said to myself I had to know him better. When he was young, he traveled the world, but also he lived with Amish for 2.5 years and being completely away from the modern society. He also worked for Joel Salatin when he was young, and he learned a lot from Joel Salatin, who he called Joel Salatin a mentor. And he really loved Amish lifestyle and also farmland, the landscape, animals, and agriculture. After he left Amish, he went to sell insurance and became successful. Today he owns many businesses, multi-million dollar businesses with his business partner Alex Mehr. Tai is very intelligent, has a high IQ, but also have extremely high emotional intelligence. And he himself and Alex Mehr is just like Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger. And he created Knowledge Society. It's one of his online company, venture business. And that's where I have found him. And he always talks about like 4 areas of life that all of us must focus each of them and make a balance basically. And that is health, wealth, love, and happiness. As I struggle to find my purpose and to really to connect with the people surrounding me, I really had a miserable period in my life. And I was completely lost, completely. And that's when I found Tai Lopez.
So this is the caller. This is
And I think about what is my purpose, the rest of my life, how I should live. And I think about happiness all the time now.
Yeah, this one, she has a head.
I had my little own success, but I was so lost. I couldn't even think about, anything about happiness and purpose.
You do not want.
I thought I had a purpose, but I got
She lost
lost.
a lot of weight before we grabbed her call.
And Tai Lopez has them all, basically. He has wealth,
Horses have
health,
the craziest eyes. If you ever look
happiness,
at horses' eyes, they have
and love.
bizarre. It almost looks like
He became extremely successful in his businesses and he made fortunes. And he really knows about health, and so he's very healthy. And he is a master of social relationships. He knows so many people, and he is the master of connecting people, and that's why he is so successful.
Cars get stuck in snow. The Amish in Wisconsin use sleighs to get around.
And have a great relationship with them. And what is really specifically impressive about him is that he, after all those successes, he came back to this farmland that he really loved, and the land that he loved to spend with the people who he loved. He's getting ready to have this farm 100% in operation, and he's gonna operate his business, food industry business out of this farm. The reason for all the success he has is his education. He's very smart and educated guy. He is known for his book reading. He has so much knowledge from the books and mentors. He is a great guy. I respect him so much. And he makes me think about my life and where I walked and what I have accomplished and what I haven't. I'm actually almost same age with him, and by encountering him, I think he got me back on my track. I feel I am more alive than ever. Now I'm so excited about what I'm walking through, the past that I'm walking through, and the future to come.
They have these things that will come behind the horse, and the horse will like drag. That's something, Alex, where you want to call it. Like D10s. D10s, big one. That's a big one.
So one of the reasons that he invited us to his farm was because he was raising a barn with Amish people. Amish people came to help him to raise the barn, and it was done in 2 days. I think foundation was done before, but when we arrived to his farm, there was only columns were standing on the ground. And Amish arrived, started working, and so we watched and helped them. We're actually very thankful to Thai and Amish people. I had the interaction, very valuable experience with Amish people.
one of my friend talked to people in town, and they said Amish people are not friendly and they don't talk to people. But actually, that was not true. Actually, Amish people actually talked to me, very friendly, and they were very curious as I was curious. And especially Amos, that I directly helped him to do the task with him. I really had a good conversation, and I felt connection with Amos and Amish people. One of the things I learned about Amish people is that they can do anything. They are craftsmen, and they handle any tools, and they are very detail oriented. As fast as they raise the building, they are very detail oriented. I don't think no contractors in the United States are that detail oriented. I was helping Amos doing the plastic piece, long plastic piece, go around entire building corners, all the four faces, and at the corner it has to meet together, and there was a lot of cutting pieces, and in order to match the two pieces coming together perfectly. And how Amos was doing was really, really meticulous, and I don't really think anyone in the United States, any contractor, is going to pay that attention to the detail for the good quality job. And I would definitely want to have Amish people, helping building my house if I have ever, built one. As Amish people are prohibited to be in the photography in the close-up, I really couldn't record any videography or photography much here, but it was great experience for me for 2 days to interact and share moment of building burn with Amish people. I came to the United States in 1999. I went to Omaha, Nebraska. I guess I've always dreamt of studying in the United States. First of all, I wanted to study, learn, and master the English language. I was devastated and astounded, to be honest, that I couldn't communicate with people when I came to Omaha, Nebraska. I couldn't listen what they're saying, and I couldn't speak what I wanted to say, even though I studied for 6 years in Japan. Actually, more than 6 years, I think. If you go to Japanese school system, you have to have a mandatory 6 years English education. Plus, I took 2 years of English class in university. And eventually, I found the subject called landscape architecture, and I wanted to be one of landscape architects. And I went to Minnesota to study in their master's degree, and I became one. I became a landscape architect. I became registered, licensed landscape architect. I've always wanted to do something creative and meaningful to the others, to the planet Earth where we live, the environment. I wanted to show my children what I've done. I still remember to this day when I was watching documentary on TV show in Japan. Probably it was when I was maybe I was in junior high school or high school, I can't remember, but it's more than 25 years ago. I watched this documentary film which was featuring this engineer worked on Seto Bridge, which was at the time longest bridge in the world. In the interview, he was being proud to be part of this huge, big, important project that he can show his children what he's done. To be honest, I had struggled throughout my college days in University of Minnesota for my insufficient English communication, but I made it through and I graduated successfully. And that time was downturn in the United States. Nobody was really hiring. And Tai Lopez always talk about this, but you have to pay attention to people and you have to develop the social networking. And he always says that a big move for his life, whenever it happened, it was people's event. Whether he listened to somebody's advice or he met someone or something like that. And when I look back at the time of graduation, what got me landed to the job that I got back then was people's event. I knew somebody and that person knew somebody and so forth. You always want to learn from the best. And how lucky I was, actually, I landed to the employer who was actually one of the best landscape architecture company in the United States. And I got lost afterwards. I got trouble in the human relationship. I would say it was a cultural misunderstanding. I was born in Japan, living in the United States for a long time. I wasn't truly Japanese, but I wasn't American. I was different. And I was silent. I wasn't speaking a lot because speaking wasn't my thing that time. Most of Japanese don't say much because of their cultural heritage. But in the rest of the world, if you don't speak up, nobody will understand you and only causes misunderstanding. And if you don't speak up further, the misunderstanding will grow, expand to the size that you cannot fix. Who I thought was my best friend turned to my worst enemy in my life. All sorts of rumors were created and I didn't speak up. I was living in the hell. But it's all because I didn't defend myself. I wasn't fine now, but I was devastated and I was in the darkest age of my life. I didn't know what to do. I lost all the confidence, and pain in my heart was horrible. I've experienced all sorts of physical pain, broken bone. At one point, I was hit by a car in a local highway, and I even got the head surgery because of that. And I broke both collarbones, arm bones, and I know all kinds of physical pain, but the pain I had that time in my chest was incomparable. I knew I was in the wrong place, but I lost the courage to do anything about it. And then I saw this something. It was video in Facebook newsfeed. It's very funny though that at that time, until then, I had never responded to social media advertising. I was actually intentionally ignoring them, never even pay attention. But this one advertising caught my attention. I believe it was end of August 2016. He was in his garage with thousands of his books, and like I told you, I searched on Google and found his TED Talk video, and I watched it, and I said to myself, I got to know him. I didn't know why, but I had to know him. I guess no imaginations come from nowhere. It's always coming from somewhere. Whether you saw something that you remembered so vividly, or examples that you've seen. And I think he was a great model for me to look up. He's almost same age as me, and he has a great story. And as bad as I was feeling at the time, he showed me how great the life could be. And he showed me you gotta be strong for that in order to get the great life that you want. And after discovering him, I started meeting people, literally people who I never thought who existed. The type of people, incredible people, who I was never be around. And suddenly I realized that I was in this, very limited bubble. As Chinese old saying, I was a frog who was in a small pond, who never see a big ocean. Even though I jumped out my country, a small island country, Japan, and went across the Pacific Ocean, come to the United States, still I was stuck in a small pond. So I'm very grateful that I discovered him, I met him, and I found my new path, my purpose, my way of living. Because of that, I've never felt more alive than now. That is the truth.
You know, truth only stays within you. Depends on the world they live in. Each one of people have their own truth for the same, exactly same fact. You cannot rely on others to find your own truth. And one of the things that I think I learned from this observation or visit to the farm is that Tai Lopez knows everything. He does everything. Actually, he's not like directing the team or anything, but he actually acts on the task. Like for the barn raising, he was actually handling the machines and he drove the vehicle and do the work by himself and leading team by action. And he knows all about horses and animals in farm because of his experience in living 2.5 years with Amish probably, and also working in the farm for Joe Sultan. But the thing is, he loved what he does, and I was watching him doing things, and then I could see the the joy in his eyes and the way he explained what he's doing. It's just that the things that he loves, what he is doing. So I think this is a great example. I mean, he is a great example of do what you love and be happy, and you want to find your purpose in your life and the things that you love and then be good at, and just live your life.
Sometimes I see people that don't know about horses that do this real tight. That hurts the horse. Because as they breathe, it's not like a saddle. Saddle you're gonna pull tight. Not here. This one like that. Here's your rein. Here's your lines, I mean. Now here is what's gonna actually pull the horse. This holds the shaft, so you have to see in a second. You guys got to see take apart the tire. One thing people don't know about me, they see all the social media stuff. Then I post up to the horses like that. You don't know anything about horses. I'm like, well, actually I was around horses before cars. When I graduated high school, 18 years old, I went and lived off the grid for a long time. Without a toilet, actually. Amish used to have outhouses, now they upgraded. Okay, so then this is called the crooper. This goes underneath the butt. This keeps this whole thing from accidentally going that way. Luckily, horse manure is not gross. The only manure that's super gross is pig manure. Do not step in pig manure. You will stink all day. Horse manure is basically grass. See, this close is kind of dangerous to a horse, but you won't die.
Yeah.
You stand right here,
Yeah.
you will die if you get kicked in the face. The close, it's funny. It's just actually like the same as jiu-jitsu. The closer you are to the animal, the safer you are. With some exceptions. I see people like shooting.
It was about 10 years ago. I think a little bit more,
I've been thrown off.
or maybe 11, 10.
Both of them were very.
My grandpa passed away.
I got thrown off before.
I was already living in the States,
Never
and at that time he was already in the hospital, and he couldn't move nor speak.
Horses can also really tell your energy.
I went to Japan and visited him in the hospital. He couldn't speak, he couldn't move, but he looked at me and he didn't look away. He stared at me. He looked into my eyes, and I stared him back. I was trying to figure out what he wanted to tell me. I didn't ask him because I thought it was nonsense to ask him. He couldn't speak. I just tried to read his mind, so to speak, and just kept looking at his eyes, which were looking at my eyes. I didn't look away. He didn't look away. I couldn't remember how long it was. But that was the last time I saw him when I visited him at the hospital. He was an entrepreneur. He built his own company. He was an engineer. And during the World War II, he served as an aircraft engineer. So he was maintaining and repairing the aircraft during the World War II. When the war was over, he went to work for the government. He was working for Ministry of Economics. But the pay was not good enough to support, he married to my grandma, and then he couldn't support her and also his mother. So he started his own thing. He turned his place, a single family home, into a factory. It was just him and my grandmother and my grandmother. They started making balloon toys for kids. So there was no machine or anything, facilities. It was just a room with traditional Japanese tatami mat, and they started sewing those fabric to make it to a balloon for children's toys, and that's how he started his own business. And eventually he built the company who makes laminating machine from small home use to big business use. And the company owned some of the patents as well for some film. He owned a factory in Tokyo and China and some other Asian countries. And he ran the business in Japan and Asian countries and Europe. He also went to the United States. I was in the United States studying at the time, so yeah, I think I was still studying, or maybe I was already working. But when he passed away, I couldn't go back to attend his funeral. But I heard that there were thousands of people were there to say goodbye to my grandpa. He traveled around the world and doing his business, and he made so many friendship with business partners and other people, and he took care of many employees. And his ceremony where there are so many people visited his funeral. After he passed away, my uncle, his oldest son, was in charge of company, the business. but it didn't go well after he passed, and it was bankrupted, and he was taken away by the other company. Somehow, that moment that he looked at me into my eyes and he was trying to tell me something, but he couldn't, and I was trying to read his mind, trying to figure out what he wanted to tell me. That moment stuck in my head, still come back from time to time so vividly.
The more likely you are. It's like the law of attraction. If you really worry about getting hurt, you end up getting hurt more. Horses are pretty intuitive. The main danger with a horse, and I will tell you this, if any of you are on a wagon or anything today, if the horse starts to run and gets crazy, jump off very soon. I had a horse about 6 months ago get a little scared and start running, and I jumped right off, then you're fine. Where people really get hurt is where you panic. Kind of like jet skis. You ever seen people just take a jet ski? It's going for like the shore or a boat. I'm like, jump off. They're like, just go whoop right into it. People do that with horses. If you jump off when it's going 7 miles an hour, it's not that bad. But if it's going 22 miles an hour, real bad. I once fell off when a horse was going 22. Or it bucked me off, and I hit the ground, and so hard, I didn't get hurt at all, that I was wearing jeans. My jeans shot in half. I was like 2 miles from home, basically like with like, I wasn't naked, but I had like whole chaps. I was like walking around. It was a tough pair of jeans, just disintegrated. Okay, so here, so the way this works here, these are my least favorite things. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna ride. We're gonna take her down there. We're about ready. Okay. This was kind of all, but once the summer comes, everybody remembers how to do harnesses again. So it'll be a lot. These are kind of flipping backwards. Okay. Somebody want to hold these? Yeah. Okay, you got the rings. The Amish are still working, I think. Yes. Yeah, the Amish will work. What time is it? 1:40. Yep. Oh, okay. They're tough. Okay, so you come through here. Sometimes they have a thing here. This is the most important part. Do not mess up this. You control the horse by its mouth. And believe it or not, I've gotten on horses and somebody forgot to clip the mouth, and then you're like, once the horse knows. I try to chain my horses to voice command, but these haven't been ridden for a while, so they're going to be a little bit different. That's why I didn't bring out the big ones. I don't want you guys to have a bad experience with horses. Those are, but you know what's a strange thing? It's a little bit like Napoleon said, the bigger horses, much more fun. That little skinny horse right there that weighs 1,000 pounds, oh my god, that one is like a high-strung. Those big ones, I think they're so big that they don't, I've never seen a big horse kick a guy except one time. I saw a big Amish guy get kicked. He flew. This guy was so strong, he got back up and was fine. He didn't even go to the hospital. He took his shirt off and he had 2 holes right here. It was a big guy, like Kobe. He shot, I saw him, I just was looking down, I saw a guy go through the air. He went from here, like past you. then he got up and he I was like, Furman, are you dead? He's like, I think I'm okay. I was like, here's the shirt off, make sure nothing's broken. You do that close marks right here. But that's the only time I've ever seen one of those you can try to do. They get very... That one's pretty good. Good rule, buy your horses from the Amish. Because by the time the Amish have worked with them for 10 years, they're super tame. Okay, you want to look this? So I can take a few of you on the little cart ride. Can you take this line and put it through there so they can track? Yeah. Come on, girl. So let's do this. Also, never, ever wrap lines around your hand. Like, are you insane? Basically, that's why I don't really wear, a lot of times I ride without a saddle, because people get their feet lodged in, and then you fall off and you get dragged for a couple hundred feet. If I fall off, I just literally fall off. Straight to the ground. Now, all important, Mary, the first thing we do, right here, this is how you pull. Okay? Next, brakes. Brakes. So here's your brakes. And you want to keep it. Now the front. That's exactly what you do. It's your line right when you do it. Throw your line over here. And the Amish, you ride like English. So you go, the driver's on the right side, not the left. Now this right here keeps them eating grass. This is where people are cool with horses. If you go to a horse show, they pull their heads back like this. I hate that. I never do that. This is okay. See how she keeps her head down? Horse shows are that's much more cool. Because they want them to look good. So when you see horses, they get their power by putting their head down, so it's like very uncomfortable for horses. These are good to have. That way if my hat flies off, he doesn't. Okay, let's do a test run before you got back.
So she is close street.
What you want? The G is to the right. Pause to the left. Okay, you people want to jump in? One person can go in here. And one person can sit on their lap. Now here's a little test, James. So here's how, come here for a second. Where you going? There. You're ready to go. I just work the loose here. The way it works. You know, in business you want to be conscientious. We only had half the brakes on. I hitched the horse up. You definitely want that. Now, this, when you go down the hill, her butt keeps that thing. If you don't have this thing will hit her butt. She'll get scared and start running downhill. And then you guys all got to jump out. Remember, roll. 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 Roll